week 6 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I looked at this week. The first guy, Brandon Jorge of the Cincinnati Reds. I mentioned Jorge as an ad last week, but this guy's really taken it to a next level so far this season here. So Jorge, we know he was good with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and then he bounced around the league over the last few seasons. He was on the Cubs, he was on the Yankees, the Mets, and now he's found a home here with the Reds, and he's playing good baseball. 7 home runs, 22 RBIs, 18 runs scored, at .260 average, and a .336 on-base percentage in the early going. So Jorge, he qualifies in many positions as well, second, third, and outfield. And I know people have some concerns once Jonathan India comes off the injured list if Jorge's going to play, but with the DH obviously this season and the rest of the way here in the National League, and with Jorge, who could play the corner outfield spots and also third base, he's a guy that the Reds need in the lineup. The Reds, they're not a good team at all this season. Obviously 9-26 on the year here, and then just need someone in the lineup that could get things going and hit the baseball, and that's what Jorge's been doing. May 10th versus Milwaukee, 0-for-3 with a run. May 11th versus Milwaukee, 0-for-2, 2 runs. May 12th at Pittsburgh, 0-for-5. May 13th at Pittsburgh, 2-for-5, a homer, 4 RBIs. May 14th at Pittsburgh, 1-for-4. May 15th at Pittsburgh, 0-for-5. So right here, Jorge, he's playing good baseball. I know the last couple games haven't been all that great for him, but he's showing power. He's hitting in a bandbox in Cincinnati, and they don't have that many options. So right now, he's not available in many fantasy leagues, going up 62% from last week to this week. So if you got him ahead of time, like I said last week, good for you, because he's breaking out as Jorge, and he's available only now in 34% of fantasy leagues. The next guy I looked at is Ben Gamel of the Pittsburgh Pirates. A Gamel, same type of situation as Jorge, where he's on a team that's a very bad team, no doubt about it, in the Pittsburgh Pirates, but also a guy who's going to get an everyday opportunity, and so far he's making most of it on the season here is Gamel. 3 home runs, 15 RBIs on the season, 15 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, .297 batting average, and a .366 on-base percentage. So right here, he's available in 85% of fantasy leagues as Gamel, and he's getting the everyday opportunity, batting anywhere first or third mostly in this Pittsburgh Pirate lineup. May 9th versus the Dodgers, 2-for-4 with a run. May 10th versus the Dodgers, 0-for-3. May 11th versus the Dodgers, 1-for-4 with a rib. May 12th versus Cincinnati, 2-for-4. May 13th versus Cincinnati, 2-for-4, a homer, RBI, 2 runs scored. May 14th versus Cincy, 0-for-3. And May 15th versus Cincy, 0-for-3. So right now, he's playing good baseball as Gamel. I don't know if it's going to hold up, but while he's playing good, and if you need a guy at the utility spot or one of your last outfielder spots, I think he's a decent ad this week. He'll help you in batting average. He'll steal a couple bases here and there, and he's driving in some runs as well. The next guy is Alek Thomas of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So Thomas, a high-ranked prospect in the Diamondback farm system, and so far I know it's a small sample size on the season. 1 home run, 3 RBIs, 5 runs scored, a .400 batting average, and a .430 on-base percentage. I know it's only been, like I mentioned, 19 at-bats for Alek Thomas, but he's looked good so far here for the Diamondback team. He's available right now in 70% of fantasy leagues, and he's already been added in 25% from last week to this week here. So the first few games for him: May 8th versus the Rockies, 1-for-3 with a run. May 9th versus Miami, 0-for-3 with a run. May 10th versus Miami, 2-for-4, 2 RBIs. May 11th versus Miami, 2-for-3, a homer, and RBI, 2 runs scored. May 14th versus the Cubs, 2-for-3 with a run. And May 15th versus the Cubs, 0-for-3. So right now, I know he's batting on the bottom half of the lineup, 7, 8, and 9 so far. He's been batting here as Alek Thomas, but obviously he's a top prospect for a reason. He's going to get an everyday opportunity, and let's see what the kid's got. I know it's only 19 at-bats, but so far in the early going, he's looked good, and he's another guy that can help someone in their last outfield spot, a utility hitter or a bench player that maybe you could wait on, and he totally could break out and have a good season here. But right now, I would get in at him and see what he could do. The next guy is Jorge Mateo of the Baltimore Orioles. So Mateo, another youngster here, getting an opportunity with this Oriole team. And so far, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, 12 runs scored, 10 stolen bases, which is up there amongst the league leaders. 243 average and a 282 on base. So right now, if you're looking for stolen bases and runs scored, this is where Mateo is going to help fantasy owners. And he's a very versatile player as well, qualifying at second, short, and outfield. He's available in 63% of fantasy leagues, and he's batting either second, sixth, or seventh usually for this all-real team. But another guy on a team where he's going to get an everyday opportunity, and they just need some players to pan out and work for this team to see what they got for the futures. Baltimore, May 9th versus the Royals, 1-for-4 run, RBI, stolen base. May 10th at St. Louis, 1-for-4. May 11th at St. Louis, 1-for-4 with a run. May 12th at St. Louis, 1-for-4, a homer and an RBI. May 13th at Detroit, 1-for-4 with a stolen base. And May 15th at Detroit, 0-for-1. So right now, Mateo's getting the everyday opportunity. He's not that great at many things in fantasy baseball, but like I mentioned, runs scored and stolen bases. If you need that in a versatile player, Mateo could do that this week. And I know he's banged up with the shoulder injury after leaving Sunday's game, but the x-rays were negative, so hopefully he's day-to-day, and he gets back in the lineup sooner than later. And the next guy's Simenes of the Cleveland Guardians. So the last couple weeks I've mentioned Simenes, and this guy, he's on a roll, no doubt about it so far. The former top prospect in the Mets system, and then they traded him to the Guardians for Francisco Lindor last season. So on the season here for Simenes, 4 home runs, 20 RBIs, 12 runs scored, 326 average, and a 344 on base. I know obviously that batting average to on base ratio isn't that great, and he's swinging early in the count. But so far it's worked for him. He's more of a slap hitter, but so far 4 home runs as well is pretty surprising for Simenes. And he's a great glove and qualifies at second and short. And right now he's been added in 18% of fantasy leagues, but in 46% of leagues. So the last few games here for Simenes: May 9th at the White Sox, 2-for-5, a homer, 2 RBIs, a run scored. May 10th at the White Sox, 0-for-4. May 13th at the Minnesota Twins, 1-for-4, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. May 14th in Minnesota, 1-for-4, run and a rib. And May 15th in Minnesota, 1-for-3. So this guy pretty much almost every day, it seems like he's getting a hit or two early in the season. If you need a guy for your middle infield, I think Simenes is a good ad because he could do good at batting average. He's good at run scoring. And even his RBIs at 20 are pretty solid so far to start the season. And the 4 home runs are surprising for a guy who's more of a slap hitter and just a base hitter is Simenes. But right now, he's doing good, and I would definitely give him an ad this week. The next guy is Juan Yepez of the St. Louis Cardinals. So Yepez, he's come out of nowhere from the minor leagues, getting called up, and he's been added in 33% of fantasy leagues, but he's still available is Yepez so far in 55%. And he's a guy like Drury last week, who I mentioned, who could blow up and possibly be big time for fantasy owners. So right now, you don't want to be late to the party of getting Yepez. And so far in the season, I know a small sample size for him in only 41 at-bats, but 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a 354 batting average, and a 419 on base percentage. So he's playing good baseball as Yepez. He's in a good lineup with many good hitters. Obviously, Paul Goldschmidt, Tommy Edman, Nolan Arenado, Tyler O'Neill, and he's very versatile as well for fantasy. First, third, and outfield Yepez qualifies at. So he's getting an opportunity here with the Cardinals, and he hasn't disappointed so far. May 8th at the San Francisco Giants, 2-for-3, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. May 10th versus Baltimore, 1-for-3. May 11th versus Baltimore, 2-for-5, a homer and an RBI. May 12th versus Baltimore, 0-for-3. May 13th versus San Francisco, 1-for-4. May 14th versus San Francisco, 0-for-3. And May 15th versus San Francisco, 1-for-4 with a run. So right now, he's getting on base. He's hitting the baseball well. I know it's an early sample size, but sometimes, even if you get these guys who break out for a couple weeks and then fizzle out, they're still worth the ad because they definitely can help your team, especially in head-to-head leagues, win a category or two or get some points to win the week here. And right now, Yepez is doing that. The next hitter I looked at is Brandon Nimmo of the New York Mets. And Nimmo here, one of the only few guys hitting for this first-place New York Met team so far this season. It seems like just him and Alonso for the most part are hitting. And McNeil was hitting early in the season, but right now, he struggled. So right season for Nimmo, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, 20 runs scored, a 307 batting average on the season, and a 414 on base percentage. So Nimmo, we always know he's a guy that can work the count, not show much power, not drive in a lot of runs, but injury prone in his career. But so far, knock on wood, he's been healthy and he's been contributing. And it's surprising to me, he's available in 64% of fantasy leagues here is Nimmo. So the last few games for him, May 8th at Philly in a doubleheader, 3 for 6, 2 runs. May 10th at Washington, 1 for 4. May 11th at Washington, 3 for 5 with a run. May 12th at Washington, 1 for 2 with a run. May 13th versus Seattle, 2 for 3 with a run. May 14th versus Seattle, 1 for 4 with a run. And May 15th versus Seattle, 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs. So Nimmo right now, he's on a 10-game hit streak. It seems like he's getting multiple hits a game almost every night here. And is the engine that starts this Met offense, even though this offense has been up and down so far in the early going. But if you need runs scored, a good on-base percentage, and a good batting average so far this season, Brandon Nimmo is definitely a hitter. I would go out there and add this week. The next guy is Brandon Marsh of the Los Angeles Angels. So the Angels so far this season, they've been playing great baseball. And Brandon Marsh, he's been a pretty decent part of it as well on the season. 4 home runs, 20 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 284 batting average, and a 340 on base with 16 runs scored. So a guy who's scoring some runs, showing some power, and stealing bases with a pretty good batting average. So if you need that and an outfielder, he's a good add this week, and he's available in 50% of fantasy leagues. So the last few ball games here for Marsh: May 9th versus Tampa, 2 for 5, 2 runs. May 10th versus Tampa, 2 for 4, 2 runs and a rib. May 11th versus Tampa, 1 for 5. May 13th at Oakland, 1 for 3 with a rib. May 14th in a doubleheader at Oakland, 3 for 4 with a run. And May 15th at Oakland, 1 for 4 with a run. So right here, he's playing good. He's scoring runs, hitting good batting average. And if you need a little boost in those categories, Brandon Marsh is a good add this week. The next guy, Mike Moustakas of the Cincinnati Reds. So Mike Moustakas, he hasn't been fantasy relevant over the last couple seasons. But like I mentioned earlier in this video with Jorge, they need some hitters over here in Cincinnati, and they paid him a decent amount of money a couple seasons ago. So on the season here for Moose, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 14 runs scored, 263 batting average, and a 343 on base. So far, not bad for Moose's stats, especially the batting average. And we know he's been a power guy who's had 30, 35 home run power in his Kansas City Royal days. But the last 2-3 seasons, he's been injury-plagued, is Moustakas. So right now, he's available widely in 89% of fantasy leagues. And he's also a guy that qualifies at first and third base. So the last few games for him: May 8th versus Pitt, 0 for 2 with a run. May 10th versus the Brewers, 2 for 3, 2 runs. May 11th versus Milwaukee, 1 for 5, a run and an RBI. May 12th at the Pirates, 1 for 4 with a run. May 13th at Pittsburgh, 2 for 5, 2 home runs, 2 RBIs. May 14th at Pittsburgh, 0 for 3 with a run. And May 15th at Pittsburgh, 1 for 3. So far, he's hitting the baseball well over the last week here, is Moustakas. If you need a guy that has some power, and right now he's showing some batting average, I would give him an add this week. But I wouldn't expect much out of him. But you never know if he's healthy and has a bounce-back season. And the final guy I'd look to add this week here is Jensen of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Jensen coming off the injured list in Saturday's ball game, and he picked up where he left off. So on the season here for Jensen, I know it's been a very small sample size, only 10 at-bats, but 3 home runs, 4 RBIs, 4 runs scored, a .530 batting average, and a .600 on-base percentage. So Jensen, very small sample size, but we know he's a former top prospect years ago here. Maybe this is the season where he breaks out and has a good year. So Jensen, in his first game back, May 14th at Tampa, 1 for 2 with a homer and 2 RBIs. And then in a pinch hit appearance, May 15th at Tampa, he went 0 for 1. So if you need some catching help, I think Jensen can help. Obviously, he's not going to be on this torrid pace where he's got 3 home runs and 10 at-bats so far in the season. But right now, as a guy who could show some pop for your lineup and be a decent everyday catcher at a weak catcher position in fantasy baseball, I think he's a decent add this week, and he's available in 83% of fantasy leagues. That's a few hitters I look to add on the waiver wire this week here for Week 6 of the fantasy baseball season.